Okay, so great evening, everyone. Thank you so very much for joining us again on another exciting Upgrade Mastery Just for You. Yes, this is the last Upgrade Mastery Just for You in the month of November, and I'm excited to be here. So today's conversation is just going to be a regular gist, and I'm going to just say, let's talk, right? So, how are you doing? How is the month of the November for you? What were the things that you were able to do? What were the challenges you faced, and how were you able to overcome those challenges that you faced? Now, November is almost done and dusted. But what's it for you? What have you learned from the whole experience? What's the information you've been able to gather? What has it been like for you generally? Right? That's what we're asking, so we can get a sneak peek into what we've done so far and then what the future holds for us. So basically, let's talk, right? Let's talk. What is it like for you this month of November? What were the things you set out to do? How were you able to make those things happen for you? So, for me, in the month of November, I had what I would call a health scare. A health scare. So, I took ill at some point at towards the end of November, and it was malaria 2 plus, and then some further diagnoses were done, and the results weren't too good, right? So I had to take some precaution, get myself taking some um, water therapy and trusting God, praying, and I have to take the test again at the end of this month, which was sometime this week, I think a Wednesday. And then the results, clean bill of health. Beautiful. That was my experience in the month of November. One of the highlights for me in the month of November was that diagnosis that I had at the beginning of the month proved to be different at the end of the month, right? So that was November's highlight for me. And also, interestingly, November happened to be my birthday. So, yes, it was fun. I had a great time. I had people celebrating me even up to date. I still get gifts, I still get things for the birthday and all of that. I want to especially appreciate every one of you who has made that possible. Thank you so very much. I appreciate it. But it's not about me. How are you doing? Let's talk about your November in review. What were the things that stood out for you? What were the challenges you faced? How were you able to overcome all of these challenges that you faced, right? So far, we started something interesting on Instagram, right? Where we get to do a minute or 2 minute video to just encourage people at the beginning of the day. I think those videos come out by 7 p.m., 7 a.m., right? 7 a.m. in the morning as I'm getting ready for my day. I just do it live for 2 minutes, save it, and leave it on Instagram, right? And that has really, really been a teachable moment for me because some of the things that I share on those live sessions are things I don't really sit down to plan and say, okay, I'm going to do this like this. So it's not really scripted in any way. It just flows from within, right? And for that few minutes, it's just genuine, it's just fresh, it's just new, it's just from within, right? And I just got to share with everyone in my community, in my space, and the people that follow me on social media. And I encourage you to also get to listen to it. It's just 2 minutes, right? It doesn't take so much of your time, just 2 minutes. So you can listen to it on your way to work or while you're having your breakfast. Just listen 2 minutes. It's not going to cost you so much time to listen to it. And these are some of the things that I really started this November and I really enjoy doing it. So when I wake up in the morning, after I do my prayers, then during my devotion, I just search within. What am I going to talk about this morning? What am I going to give to the world this morning, right? And it has been beautiful. You know, yesterday I talked about the essence of your presence or something like that, something that just makes how do people feel the essence of your presence. And it was beautiful, right? Just knowing that wherever you are in the world, there's something about your presence that you should not take for granted. right? And it's just amazing. Just looking at it, listening to it. Yeah, the evidence of your presence. What's the evidence of your presence? What's the thing that let people know that you're in a space, right? And I use the analogy of Joseph in Genesis chapter 40, where Joseph was in prison, and the evidence of his no, not in prison yet. Joseph was in Potiphar's house, and the evidence of his presence that Potiphar could take note. Just Genesis 39. The evidence of his presence was that Potiphar could take note that while Joseph was in his house was getting blessed, his house was flourishing. The evidence of his presence. What's the evidence of your presence in a place? When you come into a place, what happens in that place? Does it get better or does it get worse? There's always the evidence of your presence. And that's what I wanted people to pay attention to, because you don't just think, oh, I'm just there, nothing happening. No. There's always the evidence of your presence. For Joseph, the evidence of his presence was prosperity. In Genesis 39, verse 1, scripture says, and Joseph was sold into slavery and he was bought over by Potiphar. So he was taken out of Potiphar's house. And verse 2, scripture says, and the Lord was with Joseph, and he was a prosperous man. And we saw the evidence of that prosperity because Potiphar took note that his house was being blessed because of Joseph. So the question I want to ask you is, wherever you find yourself, what is the evidence of your presence there? How do people feel your impact? What do people miss should in case you are gone? Right? What is the evidence of your presence at that time? That was what Joseph brought on board. And you say, okay, well, because it's Joseph and it was Potiphar's house, so no more stress. But see, Genesis chapter 40, Joseph was now in prison. And the evidence of his presence was still very much visible in prison, because guess what? The jailer took note of Joseph and how Joseph had the evidence of his presence, and the jailer handed over the prison to Joseph. And it was in that state that Joseph had the privilege of meeting the butler and the baker, who were also in prison. In prison, there are always different compartments. There are those for hardened criminals, there are those for celebrity criminals, there are those for just normal criminals and all of that. Right? For you to have access to all those different categories, you must be someone who is highly regarded. That's what Joseph was. He was regarded that high that could have access to all the categories of the prison. And in the highest category of the prison, that's where the butler and the baker was kept, because they were kept there by Pharaoh's command. Right? That was evidence of Joseph's presence. Even in prison, he was still flourishing. So what's the evidence of a presence? And I felt that people really need to pay more attention to that. When you get into a place, does the place become better? Does the place become worse? Do you bring light to the place? Do you bring excellence to the place? Do you bring a certain culture into the place that was never there before? There must always be the evidence of your presence. Right? And then after we looked at that conversation on Thursday, there was another conversation I shared today, which was Friday, where we talked about it is in your helping people that you also get helped. In Genesis chapter 40, right? Joseph was in prison. He needed help, but yet he was able to help the butler and the baker to interpret their dreams. And just like he interpreted their dreams came to pass. So the take-home point there was that regardless of where you find yourself, it's important that you know that as much as you need help, you still have the opportunity to be of help to others. That was what Joseph did. He helped the butler, right? In return, down the line, the butler was the one who made a recommendation to Pharaoh that I know a guy in the prison who then, when you were upset and threw us in prison, he was the one who could help interpret the dream we had. And like he interpreted, so the dream came to pass. Now, Why was that possible? Very simple. Because Joseph was willing to help even though he needed help. You see, how do I know he needed help? Because when the butler was set free, he told the butler, put a word in to Pharaoh for me that I was put in prison unjustly. So he needed help. But guess what? 2 years passed and the butler never mentioned anything to Pharaoh until Pharaoh himself had a dream and no one in the whole of Egypt could interpret the dream. And then the butler remembered, oh, I know a guy who I met in the prisons while I was kept in prison, and he interpreted the dream we had, myself and the baker, and such as he interpreted the dream, so it came to pass. And that's when Pharaoh sent for Joseph. So my point is this: you may be going through a precarious situation. You're going through a situation where you cannot even explain. But regardless of the situation that you are going through, it is important that you learn to also help others even when you need help. Because it is in your helping others that you get helped. I'll say that again. Help others even when you need help, because it is in your helping others that you get helped. I say, but okay, Joseph's story is too far-fetched, man. Joseph's story. Remember the widow of Zarephath, right? The widow of Zarephath, who during the time of famine was about to gather her last to go make food for herself and her son that they may eat and die. You know, the 4 lepers, in 2 Kings chapter 5, they said to them, 2 Kings chapter 7, they said to themselves, why sit we here and die? Right? But this woman, the widow of Zarephath, was about to eat her last meal and then die. But guess what? As she was about gathering sticks, she met Elijah. And Elijah told her, go and make for me first. Now, she could have said, come on, you don't understand what is going on here. This economy is tipping. Those of you in Nigeria, you understand that. This economy is tipping. This economy is famine right now. What I have is just the last for me and my son to eat, and then we will die. But yet, that's not how little it is they had. It was their last meal. They eat this, they're dead after now, because there's no other place meal is coming from. Yet, they need help. And guess what? Elijah said, make for me first. If it was today's word, the caption would have been everywhere. The headlines would be, prophets collect from woman who had nothing. But the woman did. And when she did, she experienced the supernatural. She never lacked anything all through the years of famine. Why is this important for us to talk about? It is in your helping others that you get helped. This conversation is very important because some of you always just want to receive help. But the truth is, in receiving help, you must also be giving help. The widow of Zarephath, she gave. That's how she was sustained. If she had eaten it and not give it, she would have died because that was her last. The challenge many people have is that they try to keep their last rather than give it, and then they wonder why they are where they are. See, God himself will never come down to compel you to do anything. That's why he told Joshua, he said, choose you this day who you will serve. Joshua said, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Right? So that just helps you understand that it is in your helping others that you get helped. Right? So the widow of Zarephath, guess what? She helped Elijah with her last meal. Not that she had so much so she could do whatever she liked. No. The last meal she had, which was described as will eat this and then will die. Yet, that was what she had to give to Elijah for her to receive the supernatural supply. No, this conversation today is let's talk. So let's talk. What are some of the things that plague you? What are some of the things that challenge you? What are some of the things that will not let you do what you know you should be doing? What are some of those things? And those are the things we need to be having conversations around. These are the things that you need to talk about, right? And I remember also during the week, there was the podcast that I listened to, which was talking about, you should know it, right? I was talking about hurts no one talks about, HNOTA, Hunter. Hurts no one talks about. And interestingly, there are so many hurts people go through. So many hurts. And they don't even mention to anybody. But I'm not going to try to explain all that I got from that podcast. I encourage you to go listen to the podcast, the Let's Talk podcast on Wow FM, right? Wow FM. WOWFM. You can listen to the Let's Talk podcast with Emmanuel, right? Let's Talk podcast with Emmanuel. It definitely will be revolutionary for you just to listen, right? We have over 145 episodes so far, and it's truly, truly amazing. It's truly, truly a blessing, and I encourage you to go listen to the podcast, Let's Talk podcast with Emmanuel on Wow FM. It will blow your mind. It will blow your mind. For the quality of work that has been put into that, it will blow your mind, right? Okay. So yeah, let's talk. Those of you who are here, let's talk. Let's talk. Tell me, how are you doing? How's your day? How's your week? How was your month? The month of November comes to an end. How was your month? What has happened for you? What are the things that stood out for you? What are the challenges you may have faced? How were you able to overcome them? Let's talk, right? And if you have any questions you may want to ask, if you have any questions you may want to ask, feel free to ask the question. You know, by this time next week we'll be doing Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, You know, it's Christmas season, guys. It's Christmas season. Next week, Friday, gonna be beautiful. Right? That's the last month in 2024. How has it been for you? How's 2024 been for you? Tell me. How's it been for you? What have you been up to in 2024? What are the things that you were able to accomplish? What are the things that you were able to make happen for yourself in 2024? Like I said, it's not going to be a very long talk, and I hope that this has been worth your while. I'm just trying to do this break because it's been a long day for me, and trying to get into another activity the moment I end this. So I want to appreciate all of you who turned up for me to listen to Let's Talk. I just want us to just talk about a few things. I will talk about just to, right, the evidence of your presence, and we'll talk about you. Though you need help, you should also help others, because those are basic things that people need to pay attention to. Right? Basic things you need to pay attention to. It's not all about you. It's not all about you. And the earlier you begin to realize this, the better life begins to get for you. So, guys, this is not a long one like we normally do, right? But this is short yet powerful, right? Because if you pay attention to what we've said, it will literally revolutionize your life, right? And I want to say very thank you to all of you who appreciated me, who celebrated me, who honored me on my birthday, November 23rd. Thank you, and God will bless you. And I keep saying that you may not reap where you sow, but you always reap what you sow, right? And God bless you. God keep you. God cause his face to shine upon you, and God give you peace on every side. So, guys, thank you so very much for being here. We'll do this again next Friday. Bigger, better, more interesting, full time, right? This is just a brief segment right now, but we'll do full time next week, Friday. I hope we can do full time next Friday. Next Friday is choked. It's choked, but we're going to try. We're going to try to make it happen. Anything for you, because that's how important, that's how special you are. So anything for you, we're going to make it happen for next week, Friday, because then we're going to be Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad. It's a Christmas season, right? It's a season to unwrap the magic of giving, right? So, guys, thank you so very much for being here. Like I always tell you, there's always more on the upgrade side of life. So I encourage you to leave good behind so that you can upgrade. Yes, that's it. That's it, guys. Over and out. Have a great one. See you in December. Hey, Feliz Navidad. Hey, hey, hey. Feliz Navidad.